Hey guys, welcome back to the channel here. Justin's Motors, where everything starts with the dream. And today here I'm at the EV4 After Dark Party at the Kia dealership here. So we have unveiling the new EV4 and also see some more EVs and EV education and all that. So that I'll film some of the EVs that are on display here. 26 EV9. And we got the Niro. Actually, this is something I might look at considering here. This is the EV4. It's a hatchback.
Little private sale, like he had bought this.
I mean, not so far.
That's a nice view. I think this is that. If I'm not mistaken. I'm not. This is the EV4. This is the GT line, so this is a step-up model from the other one that you've seen. Man, interiors are nice on these electric cars. Alright. All fuzzy. Wow, this interior is nice. Wow. Seats are pretty cool. I like these seats.
No, this is my side.
Wow, lots of room in this thing. Wow. Can't this thing. I do like the red lighting in here. I like that. One thing I love about electric cars is the lighting in here. It's so cool, like the ambient lighting. So this one I'm in is the EV9. It's the SUV. Here. So this is the EV Niro. Here's the interior of it. It's really nice interior. Drive. All that. Yeah. It's pretty nice. Some back seat there, yeah, it's pretty. So we're in the EV4 here.
It's just steady, keeping it going, and we're proud to be part of that. We're welcoming our partners from Saskatchewan EV Association tonight. Thrilled to have them out. They're a volunteer board that works tirelessly, education, advocacy regarding the EV industry in Saskatchewan in particular. And Matt Pointer, one of the board members, will be doing. As far as the agenda goes tonight, I've been told to keep things brief, so I'll work on that. So just a quick brief history of EVs in general, and Kia EVs in particular. Matt is going to give us an awesome presentation, an introduction to EVs and the EV education part of it. Our sales team is going to give you, as horse and buggy gave way to the automobile, many of them were electric. They were clean, quiet, easy to use. Looked upon for emissions, and that brought back the search for alternative fuels and cleaner vehicles. There was a lithium-ion battery. Prior to that, battery technology was not what it needed to be to have a car that could travel any length of time. So that was kind of the breakthrough, and we started to see more and more mass-produced EVs on the road. Entering the 2020s, clean climate goals, greater technology, drove the push for more EVs on the road. EV engines and EV range now equals ICE engines, allowing for greater adoption. Major OEMs, specifically Kia, are committed to their ongoing EV growth. So if there's one thing that's certain about our global outlook, is that we will always have great global uncertainty. EVs become much more consistent and affordable option when we're in a situation like we are right now, where the gas prices are spiking. Today, gas at the co-op was $1.64 a liter. The K4, which is the similar size gas engine car to the EV4, has a 47-liter tank. So if you're got towed in because you're completely out of gas, it's going to cost you $77 to fill that K4 with fuel. On the flip side, the current residential rate is 15.5 cents per kilowatt hour. The extended range EV4 has an 81 kilowatt battery. So again, if you got towed in because you're completely dead, to go to full, it would cost you $12. You can see the huge cost savings right there. One thing I learned today that I didn't know when researching this is that 80% of that $1.64 is wasted to heat. Only 20%, 15 to 20% of a liter of gas actually drives the wheels, where EV is in the 80% efficient. An electric vehicle. Sweet selling Kia Pride in Korea, and they electrified that car. The rear seats were removed to install 10 lead-acid batteries, giving it a range of an impressive 100 kilometers. Fun fact, they had a solar roof. To help extend the charge the vehicle extend range. In '93, the Kia Cephia, which you have seen on the roads in Regina, was also converted to an EV. First mass-produced EV in Korea, and the rear seats were able to be kept. 24 high-output nickel cadmium batteries gave it a range of 150 km. Also, with a solar roof. In 2004 and 2008, Kia started playing with fuel cells. The Sportage and the Borrego were both sold here at the dealership. The fuel cell technology basically is a chemical reaction to power the electric motor. So it's a different type of electric vehicle. The technology does exist, it just really hasn't taken off. The underpinnings of every one of our EVs moving forward. It's called the Electric Global Modular Platform. Am I correct, Jeff?
Yeah.
So essentially, this here is a battery. So that platform is the same under this car, it's the same under our EV9, it's the same under our EV6, and it's going to be the same under all of our EVs coming forward. So it really substantially reduces the cost of engineering all of our EV vehicles moving forward. So essentially, you take the chassis, put a couple drive motors in it, decide how much battery you want, SUV. So again, same platform as our EV4 that we're looking at today, can be stretched out to a full-size SUV. Which brings us to today in our EV4. Our salespeople are going to give you a rundown on the wins of that and why it's awesome. Coming in a few months, our EV5 is going to hit the street. It's going to be probably a little bit bigger than a Sportage, but similar to that range all-wheel drive SUV. So we're hoping to have some people back for another launch in the fall. This is the PV5. It is coming to Canada as well. We're hoping to be selected as a dealer for this vehicle. It is coming in as a commercial van. Again, same platform as all the cars that we've got right now. And perfect cargo van, perfect city cargo, plumbers, electricians, Amazon delivery. The cool thing is because of the platform, these are all going to be on the road. Some of them might not be in Canada, but they might be in Korea. But we've got everything from this tiny city courier vehicle, the PV5, which can have stretched and extended roofs, PV7, which is going to get even bigger. And these will be passenger vans, people movers, commercial vans, everything that we could possibly need. Again, all on the same platform. Because of the platform, we will also be offering a cabin chassis. Again, hopefully it's in Canada, but we can only cross our fingers. And with that, the options are endless for how you can equip that vehicle. At the SEMA Auto Show in 2024, they turned one of them into this really cool off-roading camper van called the Weekender. Just really going to show how many options there are with these vehicles. This is the EV3, so it is going to be a compact kind of Kia Soul size SUV is coming out next year. And the EV2 was just showcased in January, and it's a subcompact SUV. No word on Canada yet, but we're hoping to get that as well. We're going to turn over to Matt from.
Wheaton Kia has been our largest supporter now of the EV Group for the last 2 years, I believe. Basically, without the support of Wheaton Kia, we wouldn't be able to do what we do with the EV Association. Getting the real facts out about electric vehicles here in Saskatchewan. The biggest thing that we're up against here essentially is misinformation and people's psychology, so to speak. There's a lot of really terrible rumors and things in the general public that get shared online, and then they grow legs and they turn into monsters, and then they just run in circles around the province for years and years on end. And so that was primarily the reason that we started the group nearly 7 years ago. We just wanted to get the real word out about the vehicles, as well as advocates infrastructure, and just get people comfortable with driving electric. So thanks again for having us tonight. And this is kind of my basic EV 101 presentation. This is designed more or less for people that have no experience whatsoever with electric vehicles. They don't know a single thing about them. If you are that person, this is for you. But before we begin, I'll just jump in here quick. Who are we as CEVA? We're a nonprofit organization with approximately 300 members across the province. Our mission is to accelerate the adoption of electric vehicles in Saskatchewan. We've been advocating for this since about 2018. Some of you might have been to some of our public events that we've held in the past at the Real District, or maybe at the Connexus Art Center and things like that. And once again, the education is primary to just get butts in seats. And the awesome thing is everybody's going to have a chance tonight to actually test drive an EV4, which is super exciting. It's great to have one of these. Well, it's great to have a vehicle that's coming in at this price point locally. And I'm sure the Kia folks will get into it later, but with the federal incentive, these vehicles start under $40,000. For a full battery electric vehicle, that's a really, really strong price. That's a great price. Anyways, who am I? My name's Matt. I've been driving electric for about 8 years or so. I've toured the majority of North America driving electric. I've been down to the States, almost to the Mexico border several times driving electric. All across Canada several times as well. I saved the equivalent of $30,000 on fuel. I kind of stopped keeping track about year 6 or year 7. And my car, the battery is holding up quite well. I've got 140,000 kilometers on it. And I'm somewhere between 5 and 10% battery degradation on that vehicle now, which is pretty good. A lot of people have told me over the years that, oh, you're going to be on your 3rd battery by the time you hit 150,000 kilometers. And obviously that's not the case, right? These vehicles are lasting a lot longer than people originally had thought. So what does EV ownership look like in Saskatchewan? That's basically my primary point of the presentation here. These are some of the other events that we've held over the past several years. Once again, just getting together with the general public, encouraging people to test drive and things like that. Okay. So city commuting, and I would argue that city commuting by far is the easiest way to drive electric every single day. And why is that? Well, because on average, people only drive about 30 kilometers per day, right? And that goes for almost every Canadian city across Canada. So we don't drive as much as people think we drive. Now, obviously, if you're doing longer distance stuff, that makes it a little bit more complicated, but not much, and I'll get into that later. The other great thing too is, there's this thing called range anxiety. If you're driving around town and you're just getting used to an electric vehicle, that's the best way to kind of have your training wheels on, to get used to the characteristics of the car and so on and so forth. But truth be told, it's a much easier drive than a lot of people think. And why is that? Well, because when you get home, if you have a charger at home, you plug in, the next morning you wake up with a full charge and you're ready to go with generally at least an additional 400 kilometers of driving range as you sleep. So the hardest part about EV ownership typically is remembering to plug your car in before you get out of your garage or decide to go into your house for the night. We sort of equate it to plugging in your cell phone before you go to bed to make sure it's got full charge the next morning. EV ownership is very, very simple because that's one of the only things you really have to focus on. Now, what are the costs of ownership? Well, typically most people are spending $50 to $60 a month on average just for local city-based driving. The other nice thing is there's much less maintenance than a gas car, and that goes with the internal combustion engine drivetrain. Obviously, there's a lot more moving parts in a gasoline or diesel vehicle as compared to electric. We've heard all sorts of figures, but there's anywhere from 1,000 to 1,500 parts in an internal combustion or engine setup, with everything thrown in the mix, while an electric vehicle has significantly less than that, typically about a dozen. Hopefully I'm not making the service guy shake his head at me here yet. And the strong battery warranty is also something that has been great and has been encouraging adoption as well. Most vehicles are at least 150,000 kilometers just for the battery pack. There's also warranties for the electric motors and so on. And then of course there's your bumper-to-bumper warranty, which covers everything else. So the good news is that the vehicles are lasting far, far beyond their warranty periods. There's all sorts of electric vehicles all over the world that are being run as taxis. And they're in the upward cases of 400,000, 500,000 kilometers on the original motors and the original battery pack. So that just shows the longevity of this stuff and how robust it truly is. Another great thing too that's just recently returned for us in Canada is the federal rebates as returns, and it's basically $5,000 off the price of certain vehicles. And I'm happy to announce that this EV4 in front of us that we're going to be test driving tonight does qualify for that rebate. So that's a really big deal because that makes the cost of ownership even better. So one really great thing, like I mentioned before, so you get to charge at home instead of going to the gas station every week or so to fill up. Also, during the lovely tropical winter weather that we have here in Saskatchewan, it means you don't have to freeze your butt off at the gas station recharging your gas mobile or whatever. You get to plug it in home and go to bed and stay nice and warm, right? The other great thing too is preheating the car through an app on your phone. It's very user-friendly, very easy to do. You can turn your heated steering wheel on, heated seats, preheat the vehicle, and the nice thing too is if it's plugged in, you're going to be pulling grid power instead of actually consuming battery power. So it's much, much more user-friendly that way. I know a lot of other, obviously there's new cars that have command start and things like that, but they just don't have the functionality that you get with an EV with the app. Software updates as well. So all these cars are all obviously connected to the internet now, and a lot of them have the ability to download updates and make the car itself much better over the years. My car has had several dozen software updates over the last 8 years or so, and every time I get a software update, it literally improves the car, and it can do all sorts of things to make that car better. It'll increase or build on the user interface, it'll improve the stereo. In some cases, it'll improve the brakes, the drivetrain, the acceleration, all kinds of things. It's really great. And then also less maintenance-related trips to the dealer because you just don't have, the oil changes, the spark plugs, the exhaust system, the belts. All those kinds of things typically don't exist on an EV. And the other kind of cool bit is you can power your house or your campsite as well with these vehicles. And actually, this EV4 does have that ability to power. And in fact, we are powering the presentation tonight with this EV4 right here. That's pretty cool. And so I believe the EV9 has a larger ability to output as well, which will power your job site, your campsite, what have you. Or if the power goes out, these vehicles can even power your house for those long duration power outages. So it's a great option to have.
Like your natural gas furnace.
Positive experience, well, I would say driving electric is a much more positive experience overall. It's much more user-friendly, I've found. Obviously, I'm biased. But I take great pride in driving electric just because it's easy. Not there to point my finger at everybody else that's not driving electric, but it is generally just an easier way to get around. Also, another great thing for those of you who've never heard of this before, something like regenerative braking. So it's a much more relaxed, easy way to drive. You're not constantly going from gas to brake, gas to brake. You essentially take your foot off the pedal, and the car uses its motors to slow itself down as it comes to an intersection, right? Eventually you get good enough at that where you can time all your corners and intersections, and you're in good shape there. So I strongly suggest taking a test drive just to check out that regen tonight, if nothing else. Much better acceleration. Yeah, these things are quick to accelerate. They're much more fun to drive than a gas car, and as such, yeah, they're blunt. Smoother, quieter, more refined. I would say it's a more luxurious sort of drivetrain because you don't have the rumble of the motor, you don't have the awkward shifting of the transmission and stuff as well. Floor center gravity. Greg showed a couple pictures of the skateboard design where the battery pack is on the underside of the car with the electric motors at each end. What does that mean? Much more lower center of gravity in the vehicle, which means less body roll. So it's much nicer to drive a car, much easier to handle, as opposed to, obviously taller cars that have a lot more engine and things above the belt line. So yeah, sign up for a test drive tonight. Be sure to check out that 84 and go for a ride. Okay, as well as safety. Electric vehicles, because of their architecture, they don't have this big pesky internal combustion engine in the front of it. What happens when you get in a head-on car crash with that engine in front? Where's that engine going to go? It's gonna, unless it breaks and goes underneath the car, which some of them are engineered to do, chances are it's going to go into the driver's space inside the front vehicle, right, or the front cockpit. So electric vehicles, because it's all on the same level, there's much more crumple zone here as well. Because of the soft run wings, there's also a much higher safety rating. So a lot of these vehicles have typically a 5-star safety rating because there's more crumple zones and they're better engineered. Also, preheating at EV garage is very safe, right? Because this thing does not have a tailpipe on it, right? It's not pushing a bunch of carbon monoxide. It's going to potentially put out all those toxic, annoying gases like particulate matter 2.5 and other nasty. And despite what you've heard on the internet, electric vehicles are actually 60 times less likely to start on fire than a gasoline car. Okay?
Is that before or after the Ford recalls? On their gas cars.
Yeah. So this actually comes from an agency called the National Fire Protection Agency. They're the largest basically statistic holder of anything related to the fire industry in North America. And they've done all the numbers, and they found that yes, gasoline cars are much more dangerous as far as fire situations.
Matt's day job is a firefighter, so he'd probably be an expert on that conversation.
Right, I've seen a few bulletins. And then once again, for safety traction control. So often the all-wheel drive or the dual motor versions of these vehicles, they've got the capability of calculating traction about 1,000 times a second, as opposed to some of the older, all-wheel drive, Subarus and things like that of the older generation all-wheel drive that are quite a bit slower to react as far as that goes. Long distance travel. So we are increasing our infrastructure here in Saskatchewan. There has been a significant investment over the last 5 years, and it is slowly getting better. The good news is the majority of all of the major thoroughfares are now covered. So you can pretty much drive anywhere along the Yellowhead or the Trans-Canada, no problems. And the nice thing too is that all vehicles are moving towards the Tesla NACS charging standard, which is basically means it's the same plug for every single vehicle that's coming off the car lot now, I think in 2026. So as opposed to having your iPhone lightning cable and then you have your USB-C and all that, and it's like, how do we plug this in? How does this work? Okay, all the cars now from this point forward are all on the same plug, which is going to simplify things so much and make things so much more reliable over the long term. So it makes it much easier to plan a trip, and generally these vehicles can charge in 30 minutes or less. Now, a lot of people might say, oh, well, geez, 30 minutes, that seems like a long time, but depending on your family dynamics and how far you're going and where you're going and so on, it makes a lot of sense to drive electric in some circumstances. So for me, I've got a young kid at home, and we're going to be planning our whole trips around changing diapers and getting lunch. And so we're going to stop in Swift Current real quick, charge there for 15-20 minutes, and we'll stop in Medicine Hat for lunch, and then we'll stop in probably Strathcona or something like that, and continue on. So it all depends on what you're up to. But basically, the best way to plan an EV trip, coffee and lunch as you go across Canada, and that's the easiest way to go. And there's many different apps to go to talk about. So it shows you the equivalency and efficiency from one vehicle to the next. And this is actually based on the Saskatchewan power grid, which is predominantly fossil fuel based. So even with us having a dirty, disgusting power grid here in Saskatchewan, That Kia EV4 is still 55% less CO2 than the Toyota Corolla. Okay, and what is the average fuel cost? Well, this is when fuel was still a couple cents cheaper here from the other day. But yeah, the EV4 would cost approximately $400 a year for electricity, while that Corolla would be about $1,700. So it's significantly cheaper for the electric cost. Okay, so there's a couple different types of electrics that are out there now. So the battery electric vehicle is nothing but battery. There's no gas motor. There's nothing else that's propelling them. And then you've got the plug-in hybrid electric vehicle, which Kia has the Niro, which has a hybrid system which works between an internal combustion engine as well as a battery. And that's a great system for a lot of different people because you can drive 50, 60 kilometers electric, and then the vehicle automatically switches over to the gas motor, and you get really great range. So you can do those long distance trips. You can go drive up to the middle of nowhere if there's no charging infrastructure and stuff like that. So that can be a really great option for people, but you just got to know what your driving habits are and kind of what you're looking to accomplish with it. And despite all this doom and gloom stuff about the electric vehicle industry is collapsing and all this bad stuff is happening, that's really not the case when you look at it from a global scale. Worldwide, 1 in 5 cars are actually electric. So that's 20% of the fleet on a worldwide basis is electric right now, and it's increasing rapidly. Norway is over 90% electric, and China's at 50%, and I bet in 10 more years, China will be at like 75% electric. They are screaming towards electrification in China. In Saskatchewan, we only have about 5,000 EVs and FEVs, but we're hoping to chip away at that and get more people driving electric through events like this. Just getting the word out about how easy these cars are to own and how user-friendly they are. So as far as charging goes at home, you can plug in on just 110 volts, which is basically any old plug that you find in your garage or on the outside of your house. But if you want to dial it up a bit and get a little bit more charging, which we would recommend through the association, I would strongly go for the level 2, which is a 240 volt plug-in. It just makes things a little bit easier, it charges the car faster, and it's actually a little more efficient on the electric side of things. And then if you're on the highways, there's something called the DC fast chargers. You might have heard of the Tesla Supercharger, or you might have seen the Petro-Canada chargers. So these are designed to charge your car super fast, and typically 30 minutes or less. The fastest charging cars now are somewhere around like the 15 to 20 minute mark. Once again, it all depends on a variety of factors, which we can talk about in the question and answer, if you guys are interested in that. So this is all the different chargers we used to have as far as what the plug-ins used to look like that you plug into the car. The good news is that this is the new standard, and all the cars are moving towards this now. So it's all across the board the same thing, which is going to simplify everyone's life greatly. Just thought I'd show a couple snapshots of what charging infrastructure looks like here in Western Canada. So Saskatchewan, we've got a fairly decent amount of infrastructure here, but when you look across Western Canada, that carries on. And as soon as you hit Alberta and then into BC, it just multiplies from there and it just grows. And contrary to other myths and misconceptions on the internet, electric vehicles will not crash the grid. Electric vehicles can actually use a lot less power than people think. And in the future, electric vehicles are actually going to have the option of shipping power back into the grid to fortify the grid and actually keep the grid online. So that's a new thing that's coming up from a lot of different vehicles. This is it on a more basic level here with the EV4, but there's a lot of trucks and SUVs that are going to hit the market in the next few years that have the ability to push that power back into the grid, and they'll communicate with the grid however they need to. And actually, there's already certain jurisdictions that have these power purchase agreements where the car registered to this individual will actually push power and basically keep a block lit up. So anyway, the average charge for an average EV is about an 80 kilometer battery, so it works out to about $14 or $15 for roughly 500 kilometers. And then depending on how much you drive, you're basically going to pay a couple dollars a day to drive 25 kilometers, or on average $40, $50 to drive a full month of commuting within the city of Regina. If you have solar, you basically charge for free during the daytime, but you can't really say that about gasoline so much. I'll just get through these. But yeah, so level 1 is considered just a standard plug-in in your wall. And then a level 2 is the 240, or a great example actually is that Grizzly EV charger, which they have on the stand there. So that's a Canadian built EV charger, I should also mention. And there's actually the ability to get carbon credits on those now, where they actually send you a check for every kilowatt hour of power that you've put in your car. So there's some cool options there to actually get paid for your charging, believe it or not.
Vehicles in Saskatchewan, charging network, and the future of electricity for powered vehicles in Saskatchewan is going to look like. They really set the stage for what we're about to unveil tonight, the future of electric vehicles, showcasing our all-new EV4. Before we do that, I've got some guests that will be helping us through it tonight. What I want to point out, we have our master StoneGuard installer, Cyril, here tonight, who's going to be demonstrating live how he installs protection film on vehicles to help you protect your vehicles long-term over the course of ownership. So he's going to be doing that live off to the side here. He's going to get set up here and start rolling right away. So in regards to the future of electric vehicles, it has arrived. The EV4 specifically has brought a few firsts for Kia. Number one being the first dedicated fully electric sedan for our market, which is mass produced. And the second thing being that it is the most inexpensive electric vehicle in the Canadian market right now. So huge success with Kia for those things. We're going to start unveiling it. We have a few people that are going to assist with that. Dimitri is going to start with the exterior walk around and some of the features of that. We're going to move to the interior, which Chris Gervais is going to do some of the interior features and what you get as technology options. Matthew is going to do some of the technology and safety features of the vehicle. And then we also have Susan, who's going to showcase what our warranty and coverage is on the vehicle. Followed by that, we have Jeff and Jordan going to do a quick presentation of the differences between an electric and a gasoline vehicle, what their undercarriages look like, all the power, gears and stuff like that. And then we'll wrap up with Matt's final presentation of why electric vehicles are the best vehicles to own in winter, no matter what you've heard. And then we'll drive some vehicles. So I'll pass it over to Dimitri. He's going to showcase the exterior.
So EVs like this one don't require as much airflow as your traditional gasoline engine, which is why you have a cleaner, more aerodynamic look to the vehicle. Moving up to the front here, you have Kia's signature LED lighting, which gives the vehicle a bold appearance while also providing excellent visibility on the road there. Coming around to the side of the vehicle, one thing you'll notice is the body lines of the vehicle here. These aren't just for style, although it is an added bonus, but makes the vehicle a lot more aerodynamic, which is a huge part of EVs, helping with performance and overall range, which in turn will improve efficiency, as well as acoustic tires, so you're going to notice a lot quieter ride on the road there. Continuing along the back of the vehicle here, EV4 continues that clean design. It's very streamlined, so air can move smoothly through the vehicle. The tail lights are just an added bonus and improves on the design as well. So, overall, the exterior of the EV4 combines modern styling with aerodynamics, which plays a huge role in the efficiency and overall range performance of your vehicle there. So, one thing that's nice too about the door handles, folding in and out when you have the vehicle as you're driving, your handles are there to reduce spring drag as well. So that's pretty much all I have on the exterior. I'll pass it over to Chris to go over the interior side of things.
All right. So with the EV4, I mean, obviously the first thing when we're talking about EV vehicles, they're ecologically conscious. First thing to touch on is just the sustainability of the materials within the vehicle itself. We have lots of recycled materials, anything from like eucalyptus leaves to make the seats, to bamboo, to recycled fish nets for the floor mats of the vehicle. So lots and lots of sustainable elements. There is actually even a QR code on the passenger door, on the actual armrest that you can scan to see all of the materials that are used within the vehicle. Now, when you first get into the EV4, obviously you can't see it here right now, but you'll find a huge panoramic for information placed right in front of you. Anything from, your driver cluster, so that'll show you, range. state of charge on your battery, a whole bunch of different information for speed. Your driver assistance systems will light up on there as well. New to this screen as well is going to be a little 5-inch climate control display. So they've just got a touch sensitive display, obviously, so you can control all of your climate controls, again, without having to take attention from up here. Now they do have some touch sensitive climate controls down lower as well to double down on that. And it does have standard dual zone climate control from the base level all the way up. So they do have a couple of extra capacitive buttons just for like things like home screen, that type of thing that kind of disappear, but then they will light up when the vehicle gets started. There's some backlighting right behind the buttons, and they're just actually laid into the material of the dash, which is quite interesting. Now beyond that, you do have your CNCC system. So that's going to be all your infotainment. It was developed by NVIDIA as well, so everything is really quick to respond, really logical. It gives you any information from your navigation, vehicle settings. You can plan trips, as Matt had mentioned, with having some range anxiety, that type of thing. You can actually plan out your trip, select which stations you want to go to, time it all out. So it's a very efficient way to look at traveling these days, so you don't get worried about those times that you think you might get stuck in the middle of nowhere. So that being said, they also have an energy consumption screen as well. So you can see what exactly is going on with the vehicle. Even if you adjust temperature up or down, you can see range go up and down as well, just depending on how you're utilizing the features within the vehicle. So yeah, overall, everything is pretty much connected right there. You also have the the Kia Connect system, which is your telematics remote start through your phone, free of charge for the first 3 years of ownership with all Kia products. Last but not least, for some of the interior stuff, to just add a little personality, on select models, they also have interior mood lighting. So you can select, anything from a custom color wheel as far as what you want to express your own individuality within your interior. So that's just a few things to touch on. Other than that, there's a host of great features throughout the vehicle, just depending on what's right for you at the end of the day. And on that note, I will now pass it over to Matt to touch on some of the technology of the vehicle.
So get into the modules a little bit easier. As you can see, the module sitting right there allows maintenance to be a little bit easier as you treat them more. When it comes to that, you also have a nice lower center of gravity, keeps you on the road, and the handling on it is sweet. You can take corners a little bit easier, so it makes for a nice smooth ride. Your high voltage battery system, this one has a 81.4 kilowatt hour battery. It actually has the longest wheelbase in any Kia sedan just because of fitting that big battery underneath. It is also built on the 400 volt infrastructure, which allows the DC fast charging for 350 kilowatts at 30 minutes, 10 to 80%, or if you are at a 50 kilowatt level 3 charger, allows at 70 minutes. That being said, you do get regenerative braking. So around the city, it might not might not get too much back on the highway, but in the city, making it so you can go longer between brake changes and also bringing back power into the battery. With this, you also get your over-the-air updates, as Matt had mentioned previously. A lot of the updates are done just wirelessly, therefore you can update the engine software, actual screen itself, the braking, everything. It can all be done just from the touch of a button. As soon as you have a Wi-Fi signal, it'll look up the data on your phone, just to give you the latest technology and make sure that everything is good to go. Other than that, your driver assistance technology, these are loaded with everything. You get your blind spot view, your collision warning sensors, front, back, and side. They are one of the safest cars on the road, as explained with the crumple zone compared to a gasoline car.
One last concern people often have when it comes to EVs is its potential longevity, especially when it comes to the long-range battery. With the EV4, Kia's comprehensive factory warranty alleviates that concern, giving you complete peace of mind. All Kias come with a 5-year, 100,000 kilometer factory warranty. With EVs, we've gone a step further. The high voltage battery comes with an 8-year, 160,000 kilometer factory warranty, and the entire EV system comes with an 8-year, 150,000 kilometer warranty. On top of that, Kia includes roadside assistance and trip interruption benefits within the factory warranty. All of these benefits, including the comprehensive coverage, even more peace of mind benefits, the high voltage battery, and the entire EV system can be extended to an industry-leading 10-year, 200,000 warranty. Overall, the warranty coverage for the EV4 is designed to provide confidence when making the move to electric. We have some pamphlets available with all of the warranty details, or if you have any questions on the warranty, please feel free to come see Chris or myself afterwards, and we can answer any questions you have. We're going to turn our attention now over to Cyril, who's completing the installation of our paint protection film. Cyril is Regina's leading expert. He uses top-of-the-line technology. Each piece of film is custom cut to follow the exact contours of your Kia. Our film provides superior clarity, making it virtually invisible. It is stain resistant, has improved impact resistance, and self-healing properties, meaning the bubble-free finish will adhere directly to your We're so confident that our stone guard film will protect your investment that we give you a lifetime warranty on it. By protecting now, it does ensure that your Kia EV4 will continue to look brand new for many years to come.
So that battery cell that we spoke about may or may not come out of this car. But this is, Jeremy, why don't you tell us about this, because I think this was you doing it. But this is the battery. One of the misconceptions is that when your battery is going to quit on you, and it's going to cost you $60,000, $70,000 to replace, and you may as well throw your car in the garbage. And this is our Kia EV battery. These are each. Do you want to describe it there?
This is like.
So, again, a myth that you need to replace a battery. You can replace a piece of the battery. So, while that assembly may be a lot of tens of thousands of dollars,
which will come down as the US repair, we've done very few of them.
yeah, as technology changes. So a battery repair can be done between $1,000 and $2,000. So when you hear $60,000, $70,000, $50,000 battery, there's proof of the low cost that it is. And maintenance. Just what do you want to touch about maintenance?
Much shorter than what I spoke about earlier, but this is, like Greg had mentioned there, this is one of the biggest myths that we hear about all the time. It's repeated non-stop over and over and over on social media, and that is a challenge with Canadian weather. And arguably, we are the most extreme climate with the highest amount of people that are driving EVs, basically. Norway is also a very cold climate, and they have, I think, 9% saturation with full electric cars in that country, but they're not as cold as we are. So they're considered a winter country, but they are far milder than we are. Obviously, Norway goes up to the Arctic Circle, and yes, there are those use cases in that country, but on average, we are colder than most places. We're probably one of the best climates to actually truly test an EV. We've got a 60-degree temperature swing with how warm it was today versus how cold it was here just a week ago. Right? It's basically almost 50 degrees warmer than what it was not that long ago. So we're a really good test bed to prove that these things are very, not only viable, but better. And so I'm going to get into that here now. So range anxiety. When people first get in an EV or when they start, thinking about buying one and stuff, this is where they start to get nervous about, well, how far can I go? When they see the gauge in the front console of the vehicle telling them their approximate driving range and so on, right? And the biggest solution to this is, number one, experience with the car. Number two, the car will tell you what to do. These cars are very, very smart. They will tell you to slow down if you're at a risk of not reaching your destination if you've programmed it into GPS. They will tell you to adjust the heat. But the third biggest point is actually infrastructure. And so Infrastructure is getting better, especially for the long distance charging for the highways and things like that. But the good news about local infrastructure is that it's readily available. I don't know the year that SaskPower came into being as a crown corporation in Saskatchewan and actually started building power lines, but basically anywhere there's power, you can charge an electric vehicle. And so we've got a pretty healthy supply of power in Regina last time too. So like I was saying, you can plug in on a 110, you can plug in on a 240, or you can have one of those Grizzly chargers like they have on the here. It is readily available and so much easier than a gas car in that sense. Now, one thing to mention is electric vehicle battery packs. They're just like a human being. They're most comfortable at about 72 degrees Fahrenheit. And similar to a human being, as it gets colder, or the car's productivity goes down, same as us, right? So you can see, as we start to decline or get into the negative temperatures, you can see the average driving range of the vehicle decline. But that's the only downside of the EV in the extreme cold weather temperatures is you just get less driving range. There's nothing else that's complicated with the car. Like the service technicians had mentioned, the heat pump system. It sounds like there's actually a resistive heater in the car as well. It's back up below the minus 12 degrees Celsius. So there's two heating systems or just one? Sorry. There's two, yeah. So that's by far the best of both worlds, right? You get your resistive heater, which works no matter how cold it is, and then you get your heat pump, which gives you more effective driving range and so on. As far as I know, Kia is one of the only brands that's doing that, actually. So that's a great thing for Kia to have up the sleeve. That's phenomenal. Anyways, so back to this, you can see as the car goes from minus 10 or 20, it starts to become more and more efficient as it gets up into that warmer temperature, right? And yeah, so the big thing is maintaining the core temperature of that battery pack. And how does it do that? Well, the vehicle has to have its own heating system. And so this is a very complicated thing. I probably am not going to do it justice, but basically the vehicle and the battery pack itself has its own thermal heating and cooling system. So in the summertime, it keeps the battery cool. It keeps it at 72 degrees Fahrenheit to keep the battery nice and healthy, prevent degradation, and maintain that driving range. Same thing as in the wintertime. When it gets down to minus 20, minus 30, the car is smart enough to know that those battery cells need to be kept warm. And as such, it's going to circulate that heat through the battery pack to make sure that that vehicle can drive and get its maximum driving range, essentially give it the best bang for the buck for that wintertime operation. And there's no special button you got to hit to do that. There's no special mode you turn on. The car just does that by itself. And so that's a big, big change in the electric vehicle that's came around over the last 15 years or so. The previous generation of battery chemistry wasn't so lucky when we had the previous chemistries to the lithium-ion batteries. They would get hammered really, really badly with that cold weather operation. Right? So I mean, how many gasoline cars in the dead of winter at minus 40, minus 50 degrees Celsius struggle to turn over, right? Those batteries are basically frozen solid. Those batteries are what I call dumb batteries. They don't have a battery management system. They're not kept warm for the most part. And as such, they have an issue in providing those cold cranking apps to turn the vehicle over to allow it to turn on. Hence the reason why electric vehicles in the wintertime, you hit the button, it starts every single time, no matter how cold it is. It could be minus 120 Celsius. That vehicle is still going to start. A lot of, the majority of gasoline cars, unless they've been plugged in, have a battery warmer and have had a way to keep those fluids warm, chances are those cars will not turn over. And I am biased in saying so, but I've seen more gasoline vehicles on the side of the road than electric vehicles that just basically conk out or they don't start or whatever the case is. And it's really funny sometimes to be the only person on your street that's going to work that day because everyone else's gas cars didn't start and you're the guy in the neighborhood with the EV and you're going to work that day. For some reason, your EV works when it's minus 50. And so that's one huge benefit of these vehicles in the wintertime is the battery management system, and that's a big, big change over what we established as battery technology in the 1970s and 1980s and even 1990s. These cars are smart and they're engineered to withstand basically the coldest of the cold temperatures. And after driving one here for 8 years, I've had my car out when it's been like minus 60 degrees with the windshield. And I just get less driving range. That's the only difference, right? I might have to charge a little bit more, but the car essentially operates the exact same as it does any other day. So it's a
The
daily
other thing
drive.
about that,
Electric every
if
day.
you're not traveling on the highway that day,
Yeah,
reduced range just means that I had to plug it in tonight instead of what I would normally would have plugged it in tomorrow. So
Sure.
reduced range isn't even really a thing, it's just that I had to charge it one more time.
yeah, yeah. So just charge it a little bit more, and it's easy, right? Much easier. And I know the car's going to start every single morning, so that's actually a huge peace of mind for most people, right? So some other reasons why electric vehicles are the best in the wintertime. Well, the battery management system, like I mentioned, keeps the battery warm even when the car isn't plugged in. If you are plugged in, it's not going to consume battery power to keep itself warm per se. It's actually going to pull power from the grid to sustain itself and use grid power so that you're not actually reducing your actual driving range. And even then, when I preheat my car on a super cold morning when it's like minus 40 Celsius, I might only lose maybe 2 or 3% of my overall driving range by heating up that car through the help on my phone. So it's not that big of a deal. Also, because there's no oil to keep warm or parts to move at minus 40, an electric car starts every time. I know the service technicians can probably agree with me on this, that there is a certain symphony that's required every single time an internal combustion engine vehicle starts up. Right, there's all the pistons and fluids and things move around and the spark, and you got to have the right mixture of air to fuel and all that stuff. All that's happening all at the same time with all of those dozens of parts all at the same time. Now that becomes much more difficult to do that at a super cold temperature. An electric vehicle doesn't have all those parts. It doesn't have to create that magic all at the same time with all those super cold frozen metal things, right? You just kind of hit the button and it starts up. It's very simple in that regard. Also, like I already mentioned, an electric vehicle can warm up the cabin much faster than gas, so it is significantly faster. Typically about a minute for most EVs. And being these Kias have both heating systems with a resistive electric heater as well as a heat pump. That is the best of both worlds, essentially combined in one. So that's a phenomenal system. Also, because these vehicles are heavier with the extra battery pack or the extra weight of the battery pack, this provides excellent traction, equal weight distribution, and the control systems are just much more advanced. So I think I mentioned earlier, about 1,000 times a second is what the drivetrain will calculate traction at in these cars. So you're not going to be that vehicle sitting at the intersection or in the back alley spinning its tires, trying to get out of that snowdrift or whatever. My vehicle has never been stuck, ever. I've driven through all kinds of things that I had absolutely no business in driving through. And I somehow got through it, and people were kind of like, that does not make sense what that guy's driving through right there. I've driven my car up to the mountains several times, and big snow drifts, huge dumps of snow. You know, easily 18 inches of snow on the road in my car, and it's just pounding through it, and it's a sedan. So you can imagine the opportunity for like the SUVs and vehicles that have a little bit more ride and things like that. It's just a much better drive system. And then winter fuels. Winter fuel blends actually gives you worse driving range in an internal combustion engine car, right? The refinery has been making winter gas all winter, and those are not great for the great miles per gallon that you might see in the summertime with the summer plants. So internal combustion engine cars have that working against them as well, right from the get-go. As soon as the weather changes, they've got to put that fuel in to make sure that those fuel lines don't freeze. As well, winter has denser air, which obviously is not great for an EV or a gas car. But those headwinds can decrease the driving range of a gas car. So the funny thing is that everybody's got, you know, they're all bent out of shape over reduced driving range in an electric, when it's really not that much. A gas car also gets reduced driving range, but nobody talks about that for some reason, right? That's if the gas car even starts to go to work that day. How many miles per gallon or how far you drive, the car doesn't even start to go to work that day. We're not going very far. I know I'm kind of taking things to an extreme, but all I'm saying is gas cars don't run great in the winter either, and everybody thinks they're the best. I disagree. So, and then also, like I mentioned, electric vehicles do lose some driving range in the wintertime. But that's dependent on how fast you're driving, that depends on how many people are in the car, that depends on your heater, and so on and so forth. The great thing is heat pumps that are coming out in the modern electric vehicles, they make the vehicle much more efficient to drive on those long trips. And there's a whole list of things and stuff, a whole list of things that you can do ahead of time if you are going on a long distance trip on those colder days. just to make sure the car runs as efficiently as possible. You can preheat the car, you can pre-charge the car, get that battery pack nice and warm. It's typically the short distance trips that are the least efficient for an EV. In saying that though, if you're driving around the city every day, only putting 30 kilometers on the car, who cares, right? Because you're only going back and forth to work. You can charge it up when you get home and go to bed. Everything's great. And the interesting thing too is fossil fuels, let's say I think it's a gallon of gasoline that's the equivalent of something like 37.5 kilowatt hours of actual energy. When we multiply that out, that basically works out to about 6 liters. So an EV essentially only has 6 liters of trapped energy inside the battery. So it's pretty remarkable that these vehicles can go over 400 kilometers on one charge with only 6 liters of fuel. For those of us who drive gas cars, how far will your vehicle travel on 6 liters of gas? Probably not that far, right? It certainly wouldn't go 400 kilometers. So that just speaks to the efficiency of the drivetrain, the aerodynamics, and everything that goes with it.
The 40% number there that Matt's got on the slide too, we're pretty much talking extreme cold.
Yeah,
right.
That would be the worst
like
of the
minus
worst.
30 and below. On your just normal winter day, minus 15, minus 20, you will have a range reduction, but it's not an extreme range reduction.
Yeah.
So those 40% reductions are a handful of times a year.
Yeah, I put the worst case scenario up there just to say like that's probably a minus 50 degrees Celsius day with a 50 kilometer wind. Like the worst day ever to be traveling on the highway. Chances are most people wouldn't be traveling that day anyway, but I put it up there just to improve.
The EV9 in the showroom is our service shuttle vehicle. We drive people all day long in it. And most days we charge it when it's back and tucked away for the night. When it is extreme cold, the odd time we have to plug it in throughout the day, but it's usually, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon where we've already driven a ton. So we drive it daily.
Management system. So this does a whole bunch of different things. The service technicians alluded to a lot of this already, but basically it is a safety system for the battery itself. It looks for irregularities with voltage, if it's overheating, if there's any sort of safety related stuff. It will actually shut itself down to prevent any sort of fire or overcharging, undercharging, the battery getting too cold, the battery getting too hot. So it is very, very smart, and it knows how to keep itself at that perfect temperature to keep itself happy. Right, kind of the same for us, like I mentioned, like a human being wanting to be at 72 degrees Fahrenheit, right? We can take off a coat, we can put on a coat, right? We put a coat, they can take off. The car basically manages itself in that sort of way by keeping itself at the proper temperature all day long. And so this is the difference between the modern electric vehicles and the EVs from 20 years ago that everybody still talks about on social media, where they saw, this one car once upon a time at some car show in the 1970s and it only had a 100-kilometer driving range. It's just not a thing anymore, right? Because the technology's here, but also the durability. I know the other people had mentioned it, but these drivetrains now are going well into the 400,500 kilometer driving range, which is incredible. How many internal combustion engines will drive that far without significant and massive cost incurrences with all the maintenance that the service takes? So it's much, much more economical, and it's the cheapest price per mile or per kilometer of any other drivetrain on the market. So this is probably almost the exact same video, except it's from a car brand that you guys don't sell here, so I
Don't
won't.
work as well.
Yeah. But anyway, there's a gentleman up in Saskatoon who shot a video, and it was close to minus 40 Celsius. He didn't even have his car plugged in, and he fired it up from the app on his phone, and he had the car piping hot at like 30 degrees Celsius, and I think it took him, and that was an older car that he had, it was about 5 minutes at extreme temperature. The car had been sitting for 2 full days at minus 40 Celsius. So that was really, really cool, and the car performed really well. The Kia version of this, you guys had mentioned it was 1 minute and 4 seconds on yours, so it's even faster than the one that I was going to show. So pretty remarkable. And if you're plugged into the grid, you're going to use grid power, so even better. This is another interesting one that I'd like to nip in the bud. There's been all sorts of crazy things repeated once again on social media about this nonstop. People seem to think that an electric vehicle is a terrible winter car in the case of let's say you get stuck on the highway. Let's say there's a car accident, there's a rollover, and you're trapped on that highway, and there's no way of getting out until that roadway is cleared, and then you're able to get ahead. So, people seem to think that the drivetrain is very inefficient or the heater is really inefficient, and you're literally going to run out of battery power in like 1 hour of sitting there idling in your EV waiting for that accident. And that's so far from the truth, it's not even funny. So like, this is a meme that I found on X or Facebook or something like that. And people are trying to spread this narrative saying, in a sarcastic way, so you want to be here in an electric car trying desperately to keep warm as your battery dwindles away? Arguably, the electric vehicle would last longer than any other gas car. And the reason why is because the heating system on the electric vehicle is so much more efficient than the gas car. Greg had mentioned that 80% of your fuel that you burn in your gas car is shed off as heat, right? It's not a great conversion, and you're losing so much of your available fuel just as the heat, and you tend to burn that up so much quicker than you would burn up your battery. So what I've done is I've run the numbers. So this is a standard range electric vehicle that has about 60 kilowatt hours of battery. And initially, you'd have 6 kilowatts for the initial heat, and then to maintain that heat in the vehicle, you would use about 2 kilowatts. So kilowatt is 1,000 watts. So 2,000 watts of idling time to maintain the heat in that vehicle and keep everybody nice and toasty warm. The other option that you have is heated seats and steering wheels as a way to keep warm in the vehicle. But anyway, let's say you showed up to that car accident and you only had half of your battery remaining. So you had only 30 kilowatt hours remaining in your battery, divided by the 2,000 or 2 kilowatt heater that you had. That would still give you 15 hours of heat on the side of the highway in order for the traffic jam to resolve itself and for you to continue traveling to your destination. So that is quite a bit of runway, and it gives you a lot more time on the side of the road than people thought. I just wanted to push back on that because there's so many of these terrible things that you see online where people say, oh, well, you're only going to be able to survive for an hour on the side of the road in an EV. They don't really appreciate how efficient these systems are.
Can I ask you a comment? Sorry about that. But winter storms, if you're just presumably then, if you're caught in a winter storm and it's not the side of the highway and you're on a grid road somewhere, aren't you actually safer in an EV? Because in a gas car, you're not supposed to leave it running in the cold, then you get cold and you can actually die from the carbon dioxide. So you're supposed to, but this car would actually be safer.
It would, because it doesn't have the exhaust pipe
Right.
and all that horrible garbage that comes out of the tailpipe.
But you
such
stay
as
warm
carbon
and not
monoxide.
freeze it. Right.
Right. And so there's lots of documented stories where people slide off the road
And
they stay in their car, not
and they keep it
realizing
running, and
that their exhaust pipe is plugged. And so where's all that carbon monoxide going? Into the vehicle.
Emission standards are greater government to OEMs or automatic. So with our internal combustion engines, every year we have to make improvements in our emission standards where the EV doesn't have any emissions, so there's nothing there. So if you were to idle in today's gas engine, the heater is extremely inefficient because the car wants to keep the heat under the hood to keep the engine at an optimal operating temperature to get improved emissions. So what that doesn't tell you is that the EV is going to give you a constant heat for this amount of time, where you're going to be fighting with your gas engine to be able to keep the heat coming into the.
So that if we talk about the EV4, it's got an 80 kilowatt hour battery pack.
81 hour, all but one of them.
Okay, so let's say you're halfway into your trip, you had 40 kilowatt hours of driving range left, or 40 kilowatt hours of battery left in the car. Instead of 15 hours, you get 20 hours of time on the side of the road with your heat, toasty hot, super comfortable, everybody warm, everybody safe, right? So the bigger battery is actually better for the Canadian climate. We always tell people to kind of get the bigger battery in their cars if there's one available, just because it's better for driving range, better for all sorts of stuff. It charges faster typically as well. But yeah, so anyways, that's another big kind of stake through the heart of, these horrible narratives that we see online and all this, right? Yeah, the heaters in these cars are tremendously warm and very, very comfortable. And they're just so easy to fire up from an app on your phone, get in, your seat is so hot, it's like burning your butt. Your heated steering wheel is so warm, you almost have to turn it down. God, it's like a sauna in here, and then you see all these people driving by with icicles hanging from their eyebrows. Boy, Anyways, so that's my brief winter explanation there.
Yeah. All right.
Perfect. Yeah, and it's similar to our other EVs. It's just more economical. Someone who's looking for
Yeah,
a daily
because
driver.
it looks like I'm gonna be moving out of Regina, like commuting in. So
Oh yeah. Yeah, they're not a bad option. They're not built on the 800 volt architecture. They're
Yeah.
built on the 400, but still,
yeah,
when you have the NACS port, you don't overly need that
Yeah.
800 volt because it's not like it can really accept
yeah.
it.
That's nice. Drives.
Oh yeah, it's very, very smooth.
Yeah, I always like the ambient lighting in these and the electric cars in that.
Oh yeah, no, they're awesome. And these ones are a bit bright.
Yeah.
You can always change the brightness and everything of
Oh,
it
yeah.
too. And the color, everything.
Yeah,
So it really just depends on person to person as to
yeah.
what you like. Don't worry, I know this menu like the back of my hand. I can do it even when there's some stuff on here.
Oh yeah.
So, there we go. That'd be a nice bit, little nicer, matches the color, and everything like that. But, yeah, no, they're super, super quiet. Which, yeah, acoustic.
There's not as much wind noise as there was in the EV6 that I tested a couple of years ago.
Oh yeah, so they improved a lot. So they started saying, you know what, this is an electric vehicle. You shouldn't hear. There's no
Yeah.
engine noise to drone out.
The wind noise.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah.
they made it pretty much like a vault.
Yeah.
So it's super nice and secure. They put foam in the tires now to actually dampen the noise. So they're foam insulated tires. You also get your insulated wheel wells, your acoustic laminated glass.
So foam in the tires now, that if you get a puncture, they shouldn't go flat because it's foam, right?
They still do. It's just it's a very thin layer to outer layer.
Oh, okay. Ooh. Yeah.
There we go.
There.
It's a very thin outer layer.
Yeah.
Just so it will dampen that noise. There should be no problems. You can still use your tire recovery kit.
Yeah.
My parents have a Sportage plug-in hybrid. I had to use the tire recovery kit on it one time because Regina.
Yeah.
But it actually worked out pretty well. It's just a solvent that coats the inside of the tire. You fill it up, put the solvent in, let it roll around a little bit, fill it up again, and you're good to go. But yeah, no, the foam, it just makes it a little bit longer.
Maybe that was a warning, but it's past 7 o'clock. But yeah, it's kind of tells you
Oh,
you're in
yeah.
the school zone and everything.
Well, it's giving you the warning, but it's past 7 o'clock, so now you can feel like a little bit of a rebel.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
And you do have your different drive modes on this guy. It's right in the center of that steering
Oh, right
wheel
here.
down there.
Yeah.
And so,
Oh, you can go down to, and then you just use the little. Oh, once it's done turning.
yeah, no, your little paddle shifters to change your regeneration. I just put it on automatic. He had it on iPedal.
Yeah.
And it was the whole thing. But I put it on automatic so that way it'll sense how fast you're letting off the brake.
Yeah.
There's
Oh, I'm
your-
in sport now.
And then you see your range drop a little bit.
Yeah, by not much.
No, not too much. These have a really good battery, like infrastructure on how they convert AC to DC.
So what is this vehicle GT line priced at?
It is. This one's the GT Line Limited.
Limited?
This is the only one that does not qualify for a rebate.
Rebate, yeah.
So again, they're quite new to me. I don't want to say anything that I'm not 100% sure on, but I believe they're just around the 50, over the 50 mark.
50 mark.
Yeah, so anything below 50, you get that rebate on. This is the only one that doesn't qualify for it, which is awesome for people who are just looking for something
To get into the.
exactly like perfect way to breach into the EV market.
Yeah.
Is something like this where it's affordable, you can still get that, and it's quite specced out.
Yeah. So probably the better, I mean, without the 5,000, the better deal would be the GT line over the Wind. Or
Really
the Wind?
depends. So like the GT line, there's also the GT Line Limited. This is the GT Line Limited.
So this is top of the line.
You bet. The GT Line will qualify for a rebate. The Limited won't.
Oh, okay.
So it's just that little gap.
So what's the difference between the GT Limited and GT? Like,
Mostly it'll be like smaller things. The interior is almost identical. It just won't have, I believe it won't have your 360 camera, is the main thing, and I believe it won't have your upgraded audio system.
oh, okay.
I feel like those are the two big ticket items, but again, I can always send you off with a little pamphlet kind of explaining all the differences between the trim models, because that's something that's nice to know. Just, you know, want to know what features are on your car. That's the bottom line, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, they come pretty spec'd out from factory. Now they all have standard wireless Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, because we have our new CCNC system compared to our AVNT, which it was great, but this is basically a rebadged, restyled, super nice and easy to kind of.
Yeah, this is nice. I like this actually. It drives nicer than the 6 that I drove.
I know, it's just they made small improvements, small tweaks over the years. They kind of saw what they could improve on, everything like that, and they did it really, really well.
Yeah.
But yeah. No, I'm really happy with this one. I'm excited for the EV5 too. That one's
What about the 3? Are we getting the 3
yeah, you bet. So we're getting the 3. That one's gonna be next year.
next year?
The EV5 is going to be later this year. It's that one's only coming to Canada in the North American market.
Yeah.
It's in New Zealand right now, Australia. It had its trial run in China. Everywhere loved it.
Yeah.
So but they're not giving it to the States because of
the
conflicts.
Yeah, conflicts and the tariff thing. Yeah.
And you know what? They don't deserve it.
No.
So
and the EV6 is always because the reason I love the EV6 because it reminds me of a wagon. Park it here.
it does. Yeah, go ahead.
Because it reminds me of a wagon, even though it wasn't classified as a wagon, but it had that wagon vibe when I first drove it.
And all you gotta do is just press the end of it.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, it does have that kind of wagon feel to it, which it's super, super nice to have. The EV5 is going to be Sportage sized.
Sportage size.
And you get your little graphics as soon as you start to shut her off.
Yeah.
But it's
Hey guys, I'm back here on the channel, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed the evening of EV education and all that. Yeah, it might be a little bit of a boring video, but hey, I learned a lot. I learned about the myths about the winter driving of EVs, and also about batteries and that. Like, Kias have a really good warranty on them. And if there is something wrong with the battery, you don't have to replace the whole battery on it. They have like little packs and that in there, so they can replace the packs in the battery. So what they will end up doing is replace that instead of the whole battery, and that's around say $1,000 to $1,400 to actually replace one of the packs and all that. So that's how they're all set up. It's not one solid battery. And there's pictures and stuff I took in the videos and all that of me of the pictures and stuff of driving of what the battery looks like and all that. And it's not one solid thing. There's like many packs in that. So yeah, I really do enjoy test driving the EV4. Like I said, I really enjoyed driving that car. Yeah, so the GT Limited model is what I tested. That one's not included in the EV rebate, but the GT and the Win model of the EV4 qualifies for that. Also, they're replacing the Niro with the EV3, which is kind of interesting because I like the look of the EV3. So if I am looking at electric, I'll probably wait to next year and look into electric cars, because the car would be almost paid off anyway. That would have like a year left on the car, so I wouldn't have to trade the car in or anything like that. And yeah, and only have 1 year left on the car, so then I'd be able to have a down payment for a new EV and that. So maybe the Kia, could be a Tesla, could be the Volvo, like depends on. And I'm also going to look at the used market too as well for electric cars as well, because they're pretty good deals on the used market for EVs right now and that. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see all that is. So yeah, what I'll do, I will end this video here and all that, and I'll see you guys in the next video. I upload every Monday, once a week. So yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Justin's Motorsport, everything starts with a dream. Peace.